Democrats are now threatening to subpoena Robert Mueller himself. We recently learned that Mueller had submitted his report on the Russia collusion investigation and that there will be no new indictments to conservatives and many political pundits. This meant that there can't be collusion because certainly Mueller would recommend indicting Trump or someone in his administration. If there's no indictments, then clearly this is ended without any Russian collusion. There have been no indictments related to conspiring with Russians at all, in fact. But what do you do if you're a Democrat and you've staked 2 years on this narrative? What do you do if you work in media and for 2 years you pushed this narrative? You double down. The other night on Bill Maher, he said, "What do we do?" and looked rather disappointed there wouldn't be indictments. And then the narrative emerged. Subpoena Robert Mueller himself, because clearly this must be a cover-up, as some on MSNBC have suggested. Today, let's take a look at the latest news and look at how the media on the left is reacting to news there may not actually be any more indictments coming. But before we get started, make sure you subscribe to our new YouTube channel, youtube.com/subversevideos. The goal of this channel is to produce straight-laced news reports, on-the-ground reporting, and expert interviews so we can, to the best of our abilities, cut out the spin and the bias. If you want to support this video, just share it on social media to help spread the message. Our first story from CNN. Democrats warn of subpoena if Mueller report and evidence not turned over to Congress. House Democrats anxious about how President Donald Trump's Justice Department will handle the release of special counsel Robert Mueller's findings are demanding the full report and underlying evidence be publicly released and are warning they may use their subpoena power to get the information. On a conference call with members Saturday, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said that she would reject a classified briefing for the congressional intelligence leaders known as the Gang of Eight to convey information about Mueller's report, arguing that lawmakers must be free to discuss it publicly, according to a person on the call. If necessary, Democrats would be prepared to use its subpoena authority to obtain the full report and underlying evidence, as well as obtain briefing and testimony from the special counsel, the Attorney General, Deputy Attorney General, and other necessary officials, the talking points said. On the call, Democrats argue that the public will is overwhelmingly on their side for full transparency, pointing to public opinion polls to make their case. Right now, we are in the mode of wanting to know the truth, wanting the facts so that our chairpersons and members of the committees can take a look into this going forward, said Pelosi, according to the person on the call. There are a lot of people declaring victory, and there are a lot of people declaring we don't know anything yet. Many people who have pegged their careers on the Russiagate narrative are saying, hold your horses, we don't know what's in this report yet. And that is a fair point to an extent. While it is extremely unlikely we will see any indictments relating to Russian collusion, considering they've said there won't be new indictments, it's possible that the findings of the report result in local charges or state-level charges. So the Trump administration is not out of foggy waters yet. There may still be some damning information in the report, so we should wait. However, many people on the left are rather upset they didn't get what they wanted. Notably, Bill Maher, who was shocked to find out there would be no new indictments, which basically means no collusion. Yesterday, we saw this clip from Bill Maher. "I don't need the Mueller report to know Trump is a traitor. I have a TV." With Rep. Swalwell, subpoena Mueller, they say.
I'm just going to go by what we do know, and I must say, I don't think it looks good. No further indictments, which means not Don Jr., even after I love it memo, really? Not Jared, not Manafort or Stone for working with the Russians. Did the Democrats put too much trust in the Mueller report? Because I don't need the Mueller report to know he's a traitor. I have a TV.
Yeah, and people are on their way to jail, have gone to jail. There's probably a farming out of other investigations. But yes, if you have a TV or a Twitter account, you've already seen obstruction of justice. And so I think the team has seen that. But here's what's important, is that the public sees the report contemporaneously with the president. He should not be allowed to edit. He should not be allowed to restrict or sanitize. And Mueller has to come before Congress and tell us its veracity as far as what
Can you make that happen?
Yeah, we're going to subpoena him, and Adam Schiff announced that.
You subpoena Mueller?
Okay.
There are some interesting points made about Bill Maher's comment. "I don't need a report to know Trump is a traitor. I have a TV." Someone commented on Twitter they didn't need science to know the Earth was flat because they have a map. Yes, you've watched TV, and if you've watched MSNBC, they've pumped ridiculous nonsense into your mind. While it's possible there's something going on, you do need an investigation and a report. And I think it was fair to say, sure, let's have an investigation. In fact, even Trump has said make it public. But now that the report is completed with no new indictments, You can't all of a sudden cry foul and then seek to subpoena Mueller, who was once championed by your side. You had people on the right, like Sean Hannity, putting up a Mueller crime family web, conservatives saying that Mueller was out to get Trump and it was a witch hunt. But now that the report has come in, the narrative is flipped. It's the Democrats that want to subpoena Mueller. They want him to testify before Congress. There are people actually claiming on national television this reeks of a cover-up. MSNBC's Joy Reid on Mueller report, it feels like the seeds of a cover-up are here. Saturday on MSNBC, AM Joy host Joy N. Reid and panelist Eli Mistel suggested that the new Attorney General William Barr could be committing a cover-up with the ending Mueller probe. The fact that this investigation takes place within the Justice Department, which Donald Trump essentially controls, and he got rid of the problem Jeff Sessions, who the one decent thing that he did was recuse himself, Reid explained. This guy is not recused, she said about Barr. It feels like the seeds of a cover-up are here. We've seen other comments from MSNBC. Aaron Matei tweeted out a segment with Malcolm Nance saying, Congress should be saying right now, I don't care what's in the report. We're going to go to town and we're going to find out what the facts are. MSNBC has gone to town on a conspiracy theory, and now the facts are in the way. It was pointed out in response to Glenn Greenwald that Malcolm Nance said in January, today confirms my estimate that by the end of March, Mueller may take cataclysmic acts in Trump-Russia investigation. By then, we'll see if Kushner or Trump Jr. are indicted or turn on Trump. Obstruction of justice is just round one. But what can they do? Seriously. You spend all your time for 2 years using this narrative, claiming it's true, claiming the evidence is there, and then even today, Bill Maher says, I have a TV. I know he's a traitor. Don't let the evidence get in your way. While it is possible we see something in this report that's going to be damning, and I think it's very, very likely that the Trump administration, his friends and family and associates are going to have many damning things revealed, it doesn't seem like Russian collusion is there. So of course, MSNBC has to double down. What else do they have? And much to their chagrin, we're seeing this story from Matt Taibbi. It's official. Russiagate is this generation's weapons of mass destruction. The Iraq War faceplant damaged the reputation of the press. Russiagate just destroyed it. The story starts with a note to readers. In light of news that Special Prosecutor Robert Mueller's investigation is complete, I'm releasing this chapter of Hate Inc. early, with a few new details added up top. Which means that Matt Taibbi, for a while now apparently, was going to liken Russiagate with the Iraq War narrative, where people were damn near sure, they knew for a fact Iraq had weapons of mass destruction. Unfortunately, they didn't. Now, many people on the left who pushed the Russiagate conspiracy narrative are saying it's unfair to relate the two because Iraq was an international conflict that resulted in the death of countless people. How dare you compare that to this conspiracy theory? But it would seem that what Matt Taibbi is trying to say is not that they're the same thing in their result, but that the media propped up a story for years and damaged their credibility beyond recognition. In his story, he says, nobody wants to hear this, but news that Special Prosecutor Robert Mueller is headed home without issuing new charges is a death blow for the reputation of the American news media. As has long been rumored, the former FBI chief's independent probe will result in multiple indictments and convictions, but no presidency-wrecking conspiracy charges or anything that would meet the layman's definition of collusion with Russia. With the caveat that even this news might somehow turn out to be botched, the key detail in the many stories about the end of the Mueller investigation was best expressed by the New York Times. A senior Justice Department official said that Mr. Mueller would not recommend new indictments. The Times tried to soften the emotional blow for the millions of Americans trained in these years to place hopes for the overturn of the Trump presidency in Mueller. Nobody even pretended it was supposed to be a fact-finding mission instead of an act of faith. The special prosecutor literally became a religious figure during the last few years, with votive candles sold in his image, and Saturday Night Live cast members singing All I Want for Christmas Is You to him, featuring the rhymy line, Mueller, please come through, because the only option is a coup. The Times story today tried to preserve Santa Mueller's reputation, noting Trump's Attorney General William Barr's reaction was an endorsement of the fineness of Mueller's work. In an apparent endorsement of an investigation that Mr. Trump has relentlessly attacked as a witch hunt, Mr. Barr said Justice Department officials never had to intervene to keep Mr. Mueller from taking an inappropriate or unwarranted step. The chapter is rather lengthy, but it concludes. Russiagate has led to unprecedented cooperation between the government and internet platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and Google, all of which are censoring pages on the left, right, and in between in the name of preventing the sowing of discord. The story also had a profound impact on the situation in places like Syria, where Russian and American troops have sat across the Euphrates River from one another, two amped up nuclear powers at a crossroads. As a purely journalistic failure, however, WMD was a pimple compared to Russiagate. The sheer scale of the errors and exaggerations this time around dwarfs the last mess. Worse, it's led to most journalists accepting a radical change in mission. We've become side choosers, obliterating the concept of the press as an independent institution whose primary role is sorting fact and fiction. We had the sense to eventually look inward a little in the WMD affair, which is the only reason we escaped that episode with any audience left. Is the press even capable of that kind of self-awareness now? WMD damaged our reputation. If we don't turn things around, this story will destroy it. Think about all the stories that seek to censor YouTubers, that seek to censor Instagram. Just behind it is the fear of the Russiagate narrative, the meddling in the US election, that Donald Trump was secretly working with the Russians. Now again, for the millionth time, we don't know what's in the report. That's a fair criticism. But by most standards, even people who don't like Donald Trump, it seems like Russiagate is nonsense. But now you have articles claiming the Russians are meddling on social media. So we have to ban certain channels. We have to restrict certain narratives. We have to shut down people who want to spread certain information. We've seen media groups like Mafic Media, a left-wing anti-war group of channels on Facebook and other platforms, be taken down after CNN reached out to Facebook and said, hey, they're funded by the Russians. Though Mafic Media broke no rules, they had their channels suspended briefly. We've seen Alex Jones taken down, being accused of all the worst things in the book. So it does impact everybody. I think the censorship tends to point in one direction. But Russiagate has been damaging across the board. It's affected international relations, and it's affecting our right to share information and our ability to do so. I look forward to seeing what comes out of this report. And of course, if any damaging information comes out about Trump, I will absolutely criticize him and bring it up. But again, no new indictments. The Russian narrative seems to have fallen on its face. But we'll wait and see. Let me know what you think in the comments below. We'll keep the conversation going. You can follow me on Minds at Timcast. Stay tuned. New videos every day at 4 p.m. Eastern on this channel, and more videos coming up on my second channel, youtube.com/TimcastNews, starting at 6 p.m. Eastern. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all next time.